So what we're going to do next is to add textures to our 3D models. However, in order to do that, we got to download the textures first. So let's go ahead and go to a site such as textures.com, or you can actually Google seamless texture. So let's see, what we're looking for is, of course, we're going to need some sort of flooring. For me, I recommend textures.com. It used to be known as CG Textures, but now they've already changed their domain. Let's see, what kind of flooring do they have that we can use? Actually, we can also search for grass as well for the ground. Let's see, what we're looking for is something repeatable. Oh yeah, here we go. Seamless. So let's go ahead and click on this. And just to make it easier, I'll go ahead and include the download links inside the description instead. So it seems I'm going to have to log in, so I'll go ahead and do that. And in my opinion, it's actually okay to do or to make a new account in textures.com, especially if you're going to frequently use it. Other things you can do is you can actually, if you have a good camera, DSLR camera, you can make your own textures by just taking snapshots of it at the highest quality. Alright, so we need to drag and drop the current textures. So let's go ahead and make another folder called textures. Alright, next thing we need to do is to drag and drop them all here. Alright, so we have our texture saved here in our project tab. What we really want to do is to apply it to the ground material. So let's go ahead and select the ground. Then over here by the material, let's click the arrow to drop down the other settings. And now in the previous video we've explained that albedo, or the albedo color, is what you need to modify in order to change the main color. Now next to the albedo to the left, this is where you have to, or this is where you can drag and drop your texture. So let's go ahead and try that. Alright, now we've applied our texture, and it also has the same shade of green that we've already applied here. By default, if you want to have the original texture file's color, you're going to have to set it to white. However, it looks really shiny because of the current lighting of the skybox. So let's go ahead and put that back to, actually let's just undo it. There we go. Keep it like this. Now at the moment it's set to this for the texture. If you actually want to modify the tiling, you go over here. So the tiling, since it's a 2D texture, you have to modify it by X and Y. What this basically means is it's a pattern. So by default 1 by 1 is set. So if we set it to 2 by 1, it starts to look like it's stretched. But if we set it back to 2 by 2, it goes back to normal, but it's a bit smaller. So that's pretty normal. Go ahead and increase the tiling as much as you'd like, as long as it's relevant to the size of the game objects inside your 3D world. So I'll just set this to 6 by, oh no, let's try 8 by 8. Alright, so that's the tiling. Now the offset is similar to the tiling, except that it actually moves the tilings to a direction. You might need to use this if ever you have to adjust a certain texture to be match to an adjacent texture. I'll show you that in a bit, Alright, so I've already applied all the textures that I've already downloaded. Now, if you check the walls, it still looks like there's no textures. It looks like a solid color. That's because for the texture I've implemented, it actually needs a norm map as well as a height map. Now, this is actually required if you're planning to use realistic textures, especially if they're coming from textures.com. Now, in order to apply the normal map and the height map, well, as well as the roughness map as well, you have to download them along with the albedo map that you get in the CG textures. Now, the site already offers that, like I've mentioned earlier, so I already have it here under my textures folder. So, easiest way to apply this is to drag and drop the same way you did before, except not in the albedo tab, but in the normal map, height map, and the occlusion. So let's go ahead and try this. So let's start with the walls. So I've already applied stucco. So the normal map is most definitely the blue colored images that you're gonna see. What else? The height map is usually the grayed out, like the darkish grayish, but you can see it in the name when you download it. And as you can see, it starts to look a little bit more realistic. So the normal map actually gives it some sort of texture feel when the light is shining on it. And the height map gives it a embossed look. That's why it looks realistic. Let's go ahead and put in the roughness map. Now, depending on the roughness map, it could be in the detail mask section, or it could be in the occlusion. You'd really have to experiment with it. Alright. You can also use the occlusion sliders in order to see what best fits the look. And if you see something like the texture is not marked as a normal map, go ahead and click Fix Now, and it'll automatically convert the normal map into a Unity normal map. Alright, there we go. That looks pretty decent. Alright, so that is it for the texturing, basic texturing, and applying textures. Now what we're going to do next is convert this into a prefab.